if you Google the average time, like, I'm dead serious. The average time a man and woman who are married, they're married for 5 years. They spent X like number of hours together.
Yeah.
If you combine just off hours alone, we're somewhere closer to year 15 and 16.
Yeah.
That's why I always say that even though it's been 5 years, it feels like it's a lot longer because we basically spent every moment together.
All right, gang. Welcome back to another episode of the Swayleigh podcast. Today, we are going to talk about not being everything to your partner. And I feel like, obviously, you can jump in whenever you want. Swag is always here. We haven't really done the best with that from the beginning of our relationship, but we're starting to like learn and grow and evolve and realize that like your husband or your wife is your everything, but they can't be your everything.
I don't think anybody does a good job with that. I think we've done better than probably 95% of people in this world in that department. Only because you probably have friends. I know I definitely have friends who still look at their partner as everything. Like, I got to do everything with you. You got to be uncomfortable to come with me. Prime example, right? Like, I don't want to go to no club because I'd rather be working. I don't want to go skydiving. I don't want to X, Y, and Z. But most people would try to do that and suck it up with their partner.
Are you saying these are the things that I want to do?
No, but you would do them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And instead of me taking 5 hours away from work to be in a club around people who are smoking and drinking, and there's a bunch of music that I don't care about, and people bumping into each other, you can do that with somebody else. Like,
right.
Skydive, instead, like, I think I'll say before you go, instead of me skydiving, you can do that with somebody else. But that's two little things.
That's a great example, but I'm saying, and this is crazy, we can jump right in, how long did it take you to get comfortable to where you would allow me to do those things with somebody else?
I wouldn't even say allow. I would say it was more so that like I thought that was what marriage was. Like, I had to force myself to be okay with that, or you had to do that with me and nobody else. Like, I thought that's what it was because that's what they taught us in marriage counseling. That's what they taught us, like all type of stuff. But to answer the question, I'd probably say 3 years, 2021, I'd say, like 3 years. Because I started reading books and understanding, we started talking a lot more. We didn't go off of what somebody who was very successful in terms of keeping couples together. We didn't just go off their advice. We did what we wanted to do ourselves. So that's probably what it was.
Okay, so just jumping around here, but my mom and my dad told us, and you know the numbers better than me. It was like year 1, 3. What is it? Which years were the hardest in marriage?
I thought you said it was 5 and 7.
Mom, which are 3, 7, 11? 3, 7, and 11.
Yeah, I never heard that.
You didn't hear that? Oh, I thought you knew that because you told me that. Well,
I don't remember that.
There's certain years in marriage that are like the hardest to get through, and like once you get past these certain years, normally couples stay together, through these past. And I think with, I just can speak for myself. With me, I had this like idealized fantasy version of like what marriage is. And really you are taught, like, especially as a girl, like you're taught once you get married, you're kind of shut off to the outside world. Like, you don't go out, you don't do this anymore. You don't do that. You have to ask your husband permission for this, and I was not used to any of that because I was a flight attendant. I was kind of a free spirit, still am. And I really didn't like the feeling of like, oh, like now I feel like my personality is not the same because I'm a married person. How do I deal with that? And then same for you. You're a very I do what I want to do kind of person. And luckily that's not going to the club or being, like a wild person, drugs, whatever. But it's very much like you isolate or you want to work for 7 days straight and not come up for air. So it's like I want to talk to the people on how to navigate like taking your partner off of a pedestal of you have to be my everything for everything. You need to be my best friend. You need to gossip with me. You need to go out with me. You need to cook with me and clean. Like there's so many things that, I expect.
I mean, for me, it's like a hierarchy. Like I feel like we all have multiple best friends, and there's certain things you tell one best friend that you wouldn't tell the other, or you'd go to one best friend about that you wouldn't go to the other. I'm not saying that's different with marriage, or it's the same as marriage. I'm just saying that like there's certain things that I would do with Jones and Jones only, and there's certain things my guy best friend, and there's other things I would do with Mo, and Mo's another guy best friend, right? And a lot of times I'll mingle the two because like they all know each other and they're close friends as well. But there's certain things that I just go to Jones about or just do with Jones. And I'm not saying that's the exact same as marriage, but I'm just saying that like there's certain things that people don't want to do at all, and people are forced to do, and that leads to a cheating, annoyances, fights, arguments, all type of stuff as well, and even love languages as well. Like like somebody will have a specific love language. Like I see on Twitter all the time. Like this girl posted online that she like decorated a whole room for a guy and put flowers everywhere and their pictures everywhere, and the guy was like, like I really appreciate like the effort, but I would have been cool with just a PS5, and she was so upset and hurt and said I would never do this again for another guy, and broke up, and Twitter killed her, and it was
because it's like you're loving him in your love language and not his.
It's not his.
It's not fair.
And so I felt like with marriage, once it got to year 3 point, I realized that like I wanted to do what you wanted and not what my version of you was because of a show that we went on.
No, that's a fact. And I don't know if you remember this. I know you remember this because your memory's crazy. Swag would bring me flowers, right? But in his head, I'm trying to get to this. In your head, I wasn't grateful enough for them. Like you were like, you don't really like acknowledge me bringing you flowers, so I'm gonna stop bringing you flowers.
No, it was the last time. It was the last 2 times I'd say. Yeah.
Right. So you said that, right? Like.
Yeah, because I think, to be fair, I think one time I didn't know this, but I brought it to you, but you were just giving advice to a girl about, and she was venting to you about what her man isn't doing for her. And then I came to you and brought you flowers. Yeah. And then it kind of made it awkward for her because it just furthered her point.
Oh, yeah.
You
that
remember
was
that?
Embarrassing.
That was embarrassing. But I didn't know that.
I couldn't really react to the flowers.
I know. But
because this girl was over my house spilling her heart
you remember, right?
to me. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Spilling her heart to me about how like no good her man was. And then my man walks in with flowers. So I kind of brushed them off.
So that was the first time it was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a reaction. All right, bet. Like I kept
but also, can you be sensitive to the situation?
But I didn't know that until you told me afterwards.
Right. Yeah. But okay, so I don't even know how we got here. But so we get to a point where you're loving your person and your love language, you have all these expectations for your partner, to kind of like validate you of like, if I'm not like, and I think you told me like, this is really hard for me, guys. Like Swag is not like a sugarcoat type of person. And I think like in our relationship, it was probably like year 2 or 3, I was really struggling because I didn't feel like I had a lot going for myself because we were in the middle of a pandemic. I was lucky enough to where his business was taking off, so I didn't really have to work financially. All the stuff that I normally did financially, which is like modeling, shows, all that stuff was at a halt because we're in the middle of COVID. So I'm just at home doing nothing. So I'm trying to get my validation from like how loved my man feels. And he wanted nothing to do with me. Not that he didn't like love me or anything, but he just was like, I really don't like need your attention. Like I don't, like get a hobby kind of thing. And like that was, well,
good talk,
I didn't say you said that, but I'm just like, tell the truth.
It's not, I didn't want anything to do with you. I didn't feel like you had to show me your validation because I got it the first 2 years. So it was like grind mode season 3.
Right.
So like you just like being there or being around was good enough for me. I didn't need to do a bunch of different stuff. You know what I mean? So it wasn't, my mind wasn't like, oh, I didn't want to be near you. It was like, you've done enough the first 2 years. Now let me like at least repay what you've done for this family the last 1.5 years. Which
is a thoughtful thought. But like think about it from my perspective of my whole entire life. I've been taught, brainwashed from Missouri to think like the ultimate goal is to be a wife. I'm supposed to be like subservient to my husband. I'm supposed to make sure you're okay, etc. I get you. We're in a good place, in our marriage. You're financially taken care of. I'm not doing anything. Like, you wouldn't let me cook for you. You wouldn't let me clean for you. Like, I would be like, hey, babe, are you hungry? Oh, I already ordered food. Like, it was just like, I was just there. So it was frustrating because that's when I first realized like, oh, I can't rely on him to be my everything. Like, he can't be my best friend at all time. Not only because our personalities are different of like I said, when I come to you for advice, you want to give advice to me, and I don't ever want advice. I'm just coming because I just want to talk, So we have different things like that, and it's not like my friends that I have, I can be on FaceTime with them for like 7 hours.
Yep.
I have 20 minutes to give you my thoughts or you're pissed, like you're like, I got stuff to do. So it was hard for me to realize like the man that I married wasn't going to be this just like pack in my pocket friend that just like lives to to make me feel good all the
I
time.
don't know. I think it works in two different ways. The first way is everything I do work wise is for you and Laura. I say that all the time, right? So it's like for you guys to have whatever you want years from now and not live a regular life, right? It's for you to do whatever you want, Laura, do whatever you want, and have the best life, childhood, everything possible. But the second thing is, and I won't get into details about it because I've done it enough, but like I really wonder how different life would have been if I wasn't so scarred the first year and a half. That's a fact because I was, like you said, the
No, I
whole
know.
in your pocket making you feel good. And then I wasn't being.
But then flip it. So guys, and this is the hard part too, of like people who are in relationships. When Swag was in my pocket and so obsessed with me, I was like, can I have like some space? Like you're doing too much.
Fair.
You know?
Fair.
Because he was like so on me and I felt like I couldn't breathe and I was used to like a certain amount of freedom. And then he went completely opposite, like polar opposite, and there was like nothing. So there needs to be a balance. But even in that balance, there's just never gonna be a point, at least in my opinion. There are some people who do it very well that completely shut out the outside world and they're so obsessed with their partner. I think that's a little unhealthy. But like for us, there's never going to be a point where it's just I eat, sleep, and breathe Swag and he eats, sleeps, and breathes Bae. Like it's not a smart thing for us to do. And I think we kind of went through both extremes in our relationship and we're kind of at a middle now to where he even will say, like just a second ago, you said, I want to do everything I can financially to make sure that you and Laura can do whatever you want. And I had to pause there because I'm like, well, he's doing these things so I can do whatever I want, but what do I want? And that's a lot of pressure on me because I really thought like, oh, I got married, so my life will be like whatever he wants.
It's more so I didn't want you in a situation, not this specifically, but I'm just giving an example because the first thing popped in my head. I just didn't want you in a situation being like 50 years old crying because you're like Taraji P. Henson where movies are taking too much out of you because of work related stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're crying over $1 million, it's not a big deal, right? That's my mindset. So that's why I work so hard because it's like I want you to have the freedom to do whatever you want. Yeah. Whether it is working in movies or like you can have the freedom to choose whatever you want. If you want to just stay at home for 3 weeks straight, you can. If you don't have to. So that's kind of what it was. But
no,
like,
and I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that. But can you not say that we don't know couples where the husband is like, "You're my wife. You don't get a life."
There's a lot of people who are I'm looking at, and they're just like, my wife has to cook, clean.
Yeah, and
I don't
you
got
don't
no
see their
house
wives.
Dorado,
Yeah.
specifically. I was in a group with a bunch of people who were all more wealthy than me, and they're talking about kids, and it was like about nannies. I was like, you guys should get like a night nurse or nanny. It was like, I have my wife. She is the nanny. She's the clean, the cook, the nanny, yada yada. And I was like, what? Does she have free time for herself? And it was like, what free time does she get? Like,
right.
She has a job.
Which is, if you're, and this is what I'm saying, if you're, I don't call myself a country girl because I'm from Missouri. I went to college in Texas. If you're raised with this mentality that like when you become a wife, you're to cook, to clean, you know, to make sure he's taken care of physically, to like you do all these things. And then I meet a husband like you where I was expecting all these things. And from the outside looking in, people are assuming like, oh, Bailey must be tied up with Swaggy because he demands so much of her. No, I'm tied up because I'm chasing around trying to get this man's attention. And he is like, go do something, you know? So it's frustrating because I'm like, I would cry to you and be like, babe, do you think I'm a good wife because I don't cook and I don't clean and you know, and you're like, I don't need any of that stuff. So but I think the assumption is always that like he wants me to be wrapped around his finger and he wants me to be, you know, underneath him. And it's the opposite. Like I want to show you that I'm a good wife by doing things for you, but then you don't require them. And it makes me feel like, oh crap. Like, you know,
the biggest and best thing you can do is just make sure like our kids are raised correctly. Like, cause obviously I'm there. Obviously, but like you are the one who is like actively like raising them. You know what I mean? That's to me, even though that's being a good mother, that's being a good wife as well, right? Mm-hmm. Because I can't do what I'm doing if you're not doing what you're doing. Like the freedom to like work and try to and provide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't put a woman's value, somebody that I'm dating, on cooking or cleaning or like I don't look at the.
What is their value on?
That
just in like integrity and like
if you take the kid out of it, for me it's one, not just supporting me in what I'm doing, but helping me like create something, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like you are the one, people may not notice, we say it a lot, but like you're the one who's helping me make these key decisions on certain things and making sure that I'm staying on point with certain things. And I thought we were supposed to launch this day, but like you're making sure certain things are good. That's all I really want and require, because when certain things do happen in terms of like the execution of these businesses, like I'm very, very happy and excited because that provides, you know, things for us. And then you put the kids back into it, and then making sure that they're good and they're raised correctly. Like you raised Laura like better than anybody that I can imagine. That's why I put the value on. I don't put it on cooking or cleaning. We have housekeepers and chefs for that.
Okay, what would be your advice, both sides, for women and men that are dealing with, I would say, more, not in like it doesn't have to be in a controlling way, but more of insecure partners, as far as like, I'm married to you, now you're mine, or I own you, both sides, because we've seen it as much as we want to do it like with men, as like men being like, she works for me. I've seen it the opposite ways a lot more, where girls are like, this is my man and he's not allowed to eat. No friends,
no female friends,
no male friends. He come, like, it's just, you go to work and you come home and your job is to just be obsessed with me. And the men can't breathe either. So like for both sides, how do you say, like, let that man breathe, or let that woman breathe, or else she's gonna leave you? You know, like, how do you, what is your advice?
I think both sides just got to get over it and go through healing or therapy or something, because it's going to take some time. It's going to take like years, 2 years, or to kind of fully get over it. But you have to work towards that, because you may not hear it, they may not say it to you, but they're unhappy on both parties, and you'll see it between the best friends. The guy would tell his best friend, the girl would tell her best friend. Whereas like they love you to death, but if you could just relinquish a little bit or let them do something on either scale, they would love you even more. But what people realize or don't realize is that, like, you know, people can be like, oh, 79% of the marriage is great, but that 21% is like so strong. That's, a lot of people get divorced over that.
It breaks the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Like they get divorced over the smallest thing. That's why the saying, the grass is like not green on the other side. People like actually try it out because they're lacking something. And a lot of the times that there was more freedom in the relationship, whether it's like, I know girls who don't let like their man just like hang out with their boys for Saturday night, like watching the game or something like that, right? Like if you just relinquish a little bit of control and just realize the person you married is not like yours in a sense, like he's your partner, but it's not your property, right? Like he doesn't belong to anybody but God, right? Like it just doesn't belong to you. He's just your partner, your spouse. People would be a lot happier and more secure with themselves. And it's not easy. It's going to be hard. But when you do that, you find it's more liberating for yourself as well.
I completely agree with that. I will say this. I just want to ask you this from a me and you perspective. Is there anything about that part of marriage, I guess, that surprised you? Like, now we've been married for 5 years. We got a long time to go. You know, a lot more adventures and stuff to do. You know, I feel like you're getting your individuality back, and so am I. Is there anything that's like surprising, I guess, to you about like how separate our lives are within a marriage?
Everything's surprising. I think like this year 5, even year 4 in the Lord and stuff, like it's been beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you're going back to like year 3.5 to 4, not saying those were bad, but I'm just saying if you go back to those years and then you ask us then if we would like go back at 23 and get married, we both would probably say no.
Hell no.
No, because like nobody told us anything. We thought it was just like a me and you forever. Like we didn't know like there was a lot of things within a marriage. We probably would have built ourselves up more. We would have dated for sure and built ourselves up a lot more and figured out what it is that we want. But like when we first got married, within 2 weeks, we were in marriage counseling. And she was saying, reveal your credit score, reveal your exes, reveal your body count, and it just took both of us by surprise.
Yeah.
And then you go into that, and you go into being together 24/7 because of Big Brother. And the last thing I'll say real quick, and before you go, is because even though we've been married 5 years, I wrote this down in my journal, and I told you this last year, and I thought of this today on a walk as well. If you Google the average time, like, I'm dead serious. The average time a man and woman who are married, they're married for 5 years, they spent X like number of hours together.
Yeah.
If you combine just off hours alone, we're somewhere closer to year 15 and 16 because of the Big Brother time. But because when we were in Missouri, we spent 24/7 together, right? So you look at a man and a wife, right? You wake up, you go to sleep, not count sleeping. You wake up, 30 minutes, you sit, you kiss the kids, you go to work. 9 to 5, you don't talk, you may text on break, whatever, cool. You commute, traffic, whatever, you get home at 6. From 6 to 9, y'all spend time together.
Maybe
6 to 10.
Sometimes people they go to the gym. Sometimes they're on the couch watching TV.
So
stuff,
you're 3-4 hours a night. By the end of the week, that's 28 hours, right? By the end of the month, that is about 112 hours. We are spending that within the first 3-4 days because we were together 24/7. And you factor that over a year span, our 1 year is people's, 2 months and
Yeah,
3
yeah.
months. So that's why I always say that even though it's been 5 years, it feels like it's a lot longer because we basically spent every moment together up
Since we met.
until like the whole individuality in terms of like trading businesses. But like even then, we're still in the same house basically. But yeah,
I'm just encouraging y'all. This is just my opinion. I'm gonna throw it out there. If you are feeling a little smothered, but you obviously love your person, don't just automatically assume you need to like run away or leave, because that's normally what I would do. Like I would just hop on a plane and like leave for a month and not talk to anybody. Don't do that. But maybe like work on some boundaries and work on like once a week you and your girls go and do something for yourself. Or my mom would always encourage me, like when you have kids, go on mommy trips. Just you and your mom friends, and like me and Cam did like a baby moon. It's just nice to like have a thing that's yours. And if your partner is objective or defensive about it, sit down and have a conversation, because that will reveal like some deeper insecurities.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's fair for any other person in a relationship to act like they own their partner, because I'm not property. You're not my property.
Not at all.
And I want to be able to like still have an individual life outside of like my marriage.
Yeah, even me, I go on my think weeks where I just go to a country with like a bunch of books and I just read for 12 days or 13 days and just work, right? Like that's my version of fun. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, no, like you still gotta find like your life in the middle of a marriage. If you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't be married. So
Oop. And on that note, guys, this has been a lovely episode of the Swayleigh podcast. If you guys want to talk about anything, we've been getting our topics recently from you guys. So this one, Carol actually sent to me and was like, oh my God, you and Swag should talk about this. So if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, please make sure you write it in the comments or message us. But like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Swayleigh pod.
later, gang.